Okay.
Hello, Linda. Welcome. We're just about to get started. We were just mostly chatting a bit.
Hey everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have you been
Howdy,
to,
welcome.
have you been to these meetings before?
No, first time.
Okay. And do you have a specific thing that you wanted to bring up to talk to us, or are you just kind of hanging out and participating in the meeting?
Yeah, just hanging out. Curious about what you guys do and hopefully I can help in any way.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Well, we'll do since we don't have a ton of people, let's just do a quick round of introductions before we get started, so you know who we are. I'm Dawn Foster. I am one of the co-chairs for TAG Contributor Strategy. I've been involved in the governance working group for quite a while. I am a director of data science at the Chaos Project, and then I also dabble in a few other things. I'm involved in Open UK on the board, for example. Josh.
I'm Josh Burkus. I'm also co-chair of CNCF Tag Contributor Strategy. I work in the Red Hat Open Source Program Office. I primarily contribute to Kubernetes and etcd. And Dawn and I are co-chairs of this working group together with Ollie, because mainly because we wanted establishing governance to not be such a headache for the projects. So, Ali?
Yeah, hello. My name is Ali. I work for Red Hat. I'm a software engineer here. I'm a Knative contributor and a steering committee member. So I do some technical work there. And in this tag, I help out with the governance and also with the mentoring efforts. I'm also taking care of the website. And I'm a CNCF ambassador. So, Rian?
Hi, I'm Marian. I work for the Linux Foundation as program manager, and I am the tech lead here, and I take care of generating all the GitHub things and cleaning up. So that's mostly what I do. And Linda.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, everyone. My name is Linda. I'm a developer. I've been using Kubernetes at my company for a while now. I attended the first KubeCon last November. That was my first one, and I was inspired to get more involved. I've been involved with the higher ed team, so contributing for that group, and hopefully I can reach out to this group as well as others that I've been interested in. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome. So let's go ahead and get started. We do have a number of things on the agenda. I'll lead. You want to start with the governance review request forms?
Sure. Let me share my screen. That will be easier. Yep. Okay, so if you remember, we talked about this governance review request form to make things a little bit more systematic. But this is not the big form because like this is not the self-assessment. This is only the form where people from projects will ask us a governance review and they will enter some information like where their governance documents are and things like that. So I did some work on this and I created this Google document and I would be super happy if you can review. Emily had a review and she said it's good. She had one comment, I fixed it. So the target here is basically to get all these information here, like these are like inputs, and create an issue template, like a GitHub issue template. And I created one in a personal repo, taking the information from there. So if we apply the current asks as is, it will look like this form, which has some information, but not everything, I believe. So if you have any other idea about what's missing or what could be what is maybe too much or something, please let me know.
Yeah, and my take on this, I did a review of it this morning. I think it looks really good. I think it's going to help us a lot when it comes to doing the governance reviews. So my thinking and why I pinged Emily and Dave on it to get their approval is that I think we should probably just start with this one and see how it works. And with the idea that we can start it with the Knative one, since they are getting ready to request a governance review. So we can try it out, we can see what works, what doesn't, and then we can iterate on it from there and include things or not based on the feedback that we're getting. Because I think this will get us through until we can put the full self-assessment form
Yeah.
together.
I think we can test it with the Knative one, but Knative is a little bit weird because it's a project with very mature, complex governance.
Yeah.
Compared to the majority of the projects that we touch.
Yeah. That's actually why I think it'll be kind of an easy first test, because it is fairly mature. They have probably all of the documents. It's based on our templates. I know you helped them develop it, so I'm not super worried about the Knative governance, and several of us have been involved in some governance matters with the project as well. So I feel like it's an easy one to start with. I think to your point, I think the real test will be when some of the less mature projects try to use it and see what kind of feedback they have. But again, I think we'd start with Knative to see if we have the basic flow, and then we can iterate from there. We can change things as we need to.
Okay.
Okay, so I will create a PR for this, for the issue template on actual tag contributor strategy repo. So we got the okay from Emily, but do we need also an approval from Dave? Like, or how does this work? Like one approval?
Yeah, I mean, for something like this, no. That said, since Dawn just tagged them today, it would be just polite to wait a day or two
Okay.
to give him a chance to respond. Like, as in, if he doesn't respond this week, then it's fine to go ahead and merge this and assume that he's too busy or coming back from vacation later or whatever. But if but we don't want to go ahead and approve it and then have him add a comment, looking for an edit 4 hours later if we can avoid it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So this is an issue anyway. So this is just an issue with Google Doc in it. I'll just create the PR and then I will just add hold
Yeah.
for Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And did anybody ping them on Slack, or was it just here in the issue?
Just here in the issue.
It's very recent,
Okay.
like 5 hours
Yeah.
ago.
Okay,
I
yeah.
usually wait and ping. So sometimes Dave is a little more responsive on Slack, but I usually give them an opportunity to catch up on their GitHub notifications before I ping them on Slack.
Okay. For what it's worth, when they became our liaisons, they said just ping them on Slack whenever we have something for them to review.
Okay.
Our previous liaisons wanted email, which is why we check each time.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it looks good for me. For one, clarity is the self-evaluation guide is not specifically on hold. It's just that none of us have had time to work on it. Because even after the TOC adopts the new framework for matriculation, 70 to 80% of our self-assessment guide will still be relevant. So we're not putting on hold. It's just none of us have had time to do the amount of writing that it requires.
But I don't think we want to roll it out and have people start using it until after. So it's, so I agree. It's not that we can't work on it, but we don't want to publish it until after.
No. Yeah. But I mean, if we had a completed document, which we don't really even have a started document, My next step would be to check what the status of adopting the new matriculation framework is,
Mhm.
because sometime this spring the TOC is going to have another offsite, and I'm assuming that the new matriculation framework is waiting for that. At this point, I think it's waiting for the new TOC, since it's January and elections are at the end of the month. So then I would check, right? Because it's possible the new matriculation framework could get delayed. And if it does get delayed, then I'll want to go ahead and publish it, even if it's only going to get used for a year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I feel like we've covered the governance review. Ali, have we covered the Knative stuff
Yeah.
as well? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the next one is I saw the deadline for KubeCon kiosk is January 17. I'm not saying we have to do it or something, but just a heads up.
yeah, and the other two things that were in that email was an opportunity to potentially do a 5-minute lightning talk for tags. And they're also offering PR support if we have anything that we want to get some attention. And the deadlines for those are also January 17th. So we should think about those as well.
Hold on.
Did you get the email, Josh?
That's what I'm trying to find. Has anybody seen this email? What's the subject
have.
line for it?
Project opportunities plus video updates at KubeCon plus Cloud Native Con EU. It came out from Katie Greenlee on December 20th.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gonna say sending out, I understand the timelines they work under, but sending out an announcement on December 20th feels like a way to limit your responses. So yeah, okay. So the expanded, I knew they were working on adding extra time slots for ContribFest, and apparently they did that, which is good for a lot of projects, but
Mhm.
not ours, because we weren't planning on doing ContribFest.
Yeah,
We
and
could actually talk about doing
ContribFest
one someday, but yeah.
ContribFest is actually not an option for tags. So
Okay.
the email has yeah, there we go. It has this. But we've submitted a maintainer track session. I think you did that before the holidays.
Yeah.
So we have the other 3 bits to talk about.
Yeah.
How do you feel like the canvassing went last year? Do we think that worked better than having a kiosk? Do we need a kiosk?
I do. What I would like to add to the canvassing this time is actually taking notes.
Yeah.
I feel like it was good that we canvassed. And for the first year, it was okay that we didn't actually capture a lot of information because mostly it was introducing ourselves.
Yeah.
But like at this point, I don't even remember. Like I know that I talked to the folks from Open Feature about governance, but I don't remember what they said.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat. We talked to a whole bunch of
Yeah.
people, and our approach was really to push them to our resources and our Slack channel to
Yeah.
reach out with questions.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, we did have several projects talk to us about some of the concerns that they had. And if we had taken notes on that, we could have followed up afterwards. So I think that's a good call.
yeah, I do think it was much more successful than having a kiosk. Doubly so because several of us already have commitments to other kiosks, and would be in a position where it would be very hard for us to actually staff a kiosk. Whereas as the canvases are a more flexible time commitment.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so do you know what the PR support is about? Like, there is some text here, but it's like, to me, it's a bit vague. It's just tweeting or basically posting stuff on social media. But we already have that opportunity, don't we? So,
Yeah.
I think what's different here is that they proactively outreach and provide information to the media and to analysts. So it's not just tweeting it, but putting together kind of a public relations package for media folks who then might want to write about some of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is more targeted at projects who might have, for example, a release before Paris and thus have something to include. Yeah, no, not pull request.
Oh, that is super
That is not,
confusing in our context.
yeah, it's not the first time I've personally had that bit of confusion. So and obviously if we had something major, like we were introducing something that we thought would be worth talking to the press about before Paris, then we could include that. I mean, we did it ad hoc last year with the Deaf and Hard of Hearing initiative. But I don't know that we have any plans this spring for anything that would be newsworthy.
I think we should probably double check with, in particular, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group to see if they have any big announcements planned for KubeCon. Because if they're doing something super interesting, then we could probably get it included in there.
Yeah, and it might be worth following up also because they didn't get really any support from the CNCF last time around in terms of connecting with press on site. So even though it's not new, it may still be topical, if you follow me.
Yeah, agreed.
I
If
mean,
nothing
that
else,
said,
we can provide that information as part of this, and they can decide what to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm also not sure how many of them we're going to have in Paris because the DHOH group is dominated by North Americans.
Yeah, I know they definitely were putting in some proposals and things, so they're hoping to have some presence there.
Yeah. Okay.
so what's the action item here then? Just check with the Deaf and Hard of Hearing group and
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we should probably talk about this next week in the all tag meeting because we'll still have some time before the 17th.
Okay. As a warning, I won't be at the all tag meeting next week.
Okay.
Due to travel.
Fair enough. I should be there, I think. Okay, anything else? Did we want to do anything around a lightning talk? And I don't see how to submit the lightning talks.
I think the lightning talks are specifically for code projects and not for tags. Hold on.
It has a check mark.
Oh, it says tags. It says check mark by tag. Okay. The
tag lightning talk should almost be a compulsory thing.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, where are those lightning talks going to be staged?
It says that they, it's that block of lightning talks that are the night before the actual KubeCon starts. So it probably overlaps with, Contrib Summit Social.
Yeah, well, they haven't, believe it or not, we don't yet know whether the Contrib Summit is going to be Monday or Tuesday of Paris.
Okay.
So it might not overlap. And the problem is it's kind of critical to know for some of us, right? Because like if you wanted me to do the lightning talk, then I couldn't do it if it overlapped with Contrib Summit.
Yeah, so they will take place on Tuesday the 19th.
Right. Whereas otherwise I probably could. Of course I don't have to do the lightning talk.
Yeah.
The and I guess the question is, what will we put in a lightning talk? I think we should think about it. Obviously we've done a keynote before.
I mean, we could take the approach that we've taken with some of the maintainer track sessions and focus it on a specific thing. We could do a lightning talk on the you know, deaf and hard of hearing group. We could do a lightning talk on mentoring initiatives. We could do, I mean, it doesn't have to be everything that we do. Or it could just be like a 5-minute summary of all of the things that we do. Yeah,
I think
on
a specific topic would be better, but
yeah, I tend to agree with that. It's hard to cover a whole bunch of stuff in 5 minutes and have it be effective. I think we're better off focusing on a thing.
Specifically, if you can pick a thing that would encourage people to get involved, because we're a little thin on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and because of scale, I plan to, I'm gonna fly home before going to Paris and then take the Eurostar down. So I'm probably coming in on Tuesday. So I'm also probably not the best person to do a lightning talk. I haven't booked my Eurostar ticket, so I could come in early enough, but it might be better to have somebody like Catherine if she's gonna be there. Or Ali or Rian if you're gonna be there earlier.
Yeah, well, I think part of it's gonna depend on what the topic is, right?
Yep.
Because if it's accessibility, then it should be somebody from that working group. If it's whatchamacallit, if it's, you know, say mentoring, then it needs to be somebody from the mentoring working group, etc.
Yeah.
The
I really like the idea of focusing on accessibility and talking about the deaf and hard of hearing group as a part of that, but then maybe talking about it, you know, just slightly a bit more broadly. And that would be maybe Catherine or somebody from that group could.
Yeah, and actually I really like that too, because supposedly there are going to be some changes to KubeCon itself in response to the feedback that DHOH has been giving the KubeCon organizers. So it would be really timely for that. Okay. So take that. So we've got two things to take to DHOH / accessibility. You know, with the understanding that working group is supposed to eventually broaden to accessibility in general.
Okay, so I assigned this action item to me in next meeting, general tag meeting. I can, let me actually add it to the agenda right after this meeting.
Well, why don't you reach out to them and we can make a final decision in the tag meeting, but let's give them an opportunity to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that topic? Okay. The next thing on the agenda, Rian, an early start with non-governance topics for 2024.
Yes, I've been doing a tour now, putting on my CNCF hat. I've been doing a tour of tags since the 2nd of January to announce the things that we want to do to make things better in tags and all over the CNCF around tags. So what I've done last year is go through all the tag repos, go to the tag folder inside DOC repo on CNCF DOC, and see what's going on around repositories and information. And what I found is a lot of documents are out of sync and a lot of information is not up to date. There you got me by changing the screen. If you look at the notes on the other side. Okay, so the first thing, if we look at from our side, I'm talking specific about the tag contribute strategy. We have our charter in two places. One on the TOC repo in the tag contribute strategy markdown file, which is a charter which hasn't been updated in 2 years. And then our own charter inside our own repo has not been updated in 3 years. So they are fairly outdated. and leadership information is outdated. So this plan is not just for this tag, for all tags, to actually remove the charter that's sitting inside the TOC repo, or there's a tags folder, and in that folder there is the charters. Very, very few. I think it's only environmental that is in sync with their document, environmental and security. There's one or two. The rest are all fairly out of sync. So rather kill off that document, only have the one in our own repo. So, but you can't just kill it off. You need to make sure that there's no information lost when you kill it off. There's already, or you might remember from the middle of last year, I already opened a PR in the TOC repo to actually remove that document and make it more generic and just point back to our repo. But after a PR that merged this morning about rearranging the way the tags are presented in that folder, we actually don't need those charters anymore. Then some other things that we're going to do is our leadership is, I think I found it about 4 places for this tag. So what we've done is we updated the document inside the TOC folder to have the leaders for all the tags and the tech leads in one place, with the idea that every project just hyperlink to that original file. Anyway, you have to request permission for leadership changes from the TOC, so then they approve the PR there, and it's done, and you don't have to go change anything in your repo and just hyperlink it back to all the places where you need it in your repo. That would, saying that, it would be only for tags at this stage, not for the working groups of the tags. So I will see how I'll do it in our case to make it work well and present it well. So that's one of the things. And then also going through the README, going through the charter. And there's also a project that's going to kick off this week where we're going to take all the charters and compare them, because everybody's got their own flavor, and see what's included, what's excluded. Everybody got introduction. Most people got a in scope, out of scope. Some people don't. So basically just get all the headings together and see what should a charter look like, and kind of make a template. And as we go through the helping the tags clean up the charters, make sure you might be beneficial to add this chapter or that chapter into your just to make it. If you're coming from the outside and you want to go browse all tags to see where I want to get involved, you should have a similar picture from tag to tag, similar workflow, similar information in the README to try and standardize it. So a lot of that is going to come soon. So being the tech lead, I just had a very long monologue of making work for myself.
Okay. Somewhere I actually have an issue open about this, which is good because it means you can close it. I'll see if I can find it. Because one of the things I noticed a while ago when I was working on updating our charter was that the charters, not only our charter, but the charter for most tags existed in multiple places. Yes. And I was like, okay, which one are we supposed to be updating?
So as you know these things and you discover more things, please throw it my way, both for our tag and for other tags. Because this has been a journey of discovery to see where all things are, and it's very interesting. And if you look through the detail of it, it is nobody's fault. It's well-meaning people updating things through a PI here and there, and very often it's not a full document review, it's just adding the new information. And if we, so this is a time for full document review of several documents, and it's going to be a long slog. It's not, there's a lot of documents and a lot of changes, and to get everybody to agree. What we plan to do, rather than, if you remember the mentoring repo, when we redid that, we worked on a feature branch, and we had one massive PR that took months to approve. So we're going to go for the 100 small PRs this time, rather make small changes that somebody can review, or keeping in mind the bigger picture, but small PRs that somebody can review in 10 or 20 minutes and give their agreement, trying not to burn resources with people that already don't have time.
That sounds great. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing all of this.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so
And
right
yes, if you-
now, we're gonna delete the version of the charter that exists in the CNCF TOC repo.
So what I'm gonna do is,
And
yes,
we're gonna try to
I'm-
update the one in our repo, right?
yes. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna compare the two. I'm gonna take our charter, throw it over into a Google Doc, put in whatever's missing from the TOC repo, add that in there, and throw it out for discussion. Let's discuss it, update it, and then I'll take. It's going to be easier than trying to fix it in GitHub, and then I will take the changes and go manually do the GitHub bit and actually update the charter if that would work for all. I think it's going to be a faster way to update. Just give me a week or two on that. I'll take the same information to a shorter version to next week's meeting. Give me some time to just, I don't want to update our charter as the first one and then discover, oh, there's a chapter here or a heading there that we want to add after doing 3 or 4 others. So I first want to look at all of them, gather my thoughts around it, and then say, okay, this is kind of the template that we've got these, we're missing these, and work from there. So hopefully before the end of the month, we can have a good document.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So is this the ticket, Rian?
Yes, I think it is.
Okay. Or is this just specific to our time? Anyway, why I asked is it's okay. Yeah, I mean like it can live wherever in TOC or in our repo, it's okay. I just had this ticket, so I just want to close this one then.
What you could do, you can assign that to me, and then we use that ticket for us to work on. It's
This one.
also a way. No, it's a valid ticket. We're gonna work on that. So you're gonna assign it to me.
Okay.
And then we use that as
Kinda
our.
has a duplicate, I think, even. So yeah. It's okay. Cool. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, I just added one thing because it's a standing agenda item that we forgot to put on the agenda for this week, which is the project board review. We should at least have a quick look at it. I don't know, Rian, if you want to walk us through that or.
Honestly, I have not looked at it. So I see there's one new item. So sorry, I have not had time to look at it. So let's first have governance review request form. Oh, that's Ali's issue that it just brought, so we can just stick that into properly where assigned.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or work in progress, actually, because that's.
Yeah,
Not
this
actually.
we work in progress. Yep.
And that is the amount of manage I've got in me at the moment. I'm all managed out.
Fair enough. The Knative one should be unblocked once we get this, the governance review form out, but let's leave it in blocked for right now. We can move that out, Ali, as soon as you get the other form approved and published.
Yep.
Is there anything else, that's in the blocked that people have thoughts on?
No, the other two are blocked on the new matriculation process.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking I might, well, no, because remove governance was opened by the TOC, so I'm not going to close it on my own. I don't think what ended up coming out of the new matriculation, I'll look at the checklist again, but I don't think there actually is a requirement that sandbox projects have governance. There's one of the things the new list distinguish in is things that are required and things that are recommended. And Sandbox doesn't have a lot that's required for fairly solid reasons. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll work. So I know the telepresence is in the backlog. I'll work on that as soon as we get that form out. But I'll have a look at that issue and maybe close it and have them reopen one with the new form, where they can put some of the details, but I'll work with the team on that once we have the form. Is there anything else on there that people want to work on?
I'm scrolling down slowly. Let me know if you want me to stop.
What's the status on the Istio governance review? Is that something urgent in any way?
It's not urgent. The TOC decided not to ask them to do a governance review before advancing to graduated.
Okay,
So, you know, this is actually more in the realm of Istio's governance has not really had any kind of serious examination since they entered the CNCF. Like Knative, it has complicated, relatively mature governance,
mhm,
but some of that complicated governance was engineered around not being backed by a foundation. And it's probably past time for somebody to take a look at it and see if, like Knative, there are parts of the existing governance that are not necessary anymore.
Do you think there's anyone on the Istio team that wants to work with us on that?
I had originally hoped that Craig had originally been interested in this, but he's not anymore for whatever reason. I'll need to look at who's currently on steering over there. I mean, to be frank, Istio has some other issues around their working groups, et cetera, that are not governance issues, but staffing issues. So I
Mhm,
don't think this is their focus right now.
okay.
The
Okay, well, we can just sort of leave this, and it sounds like there's no
Mhm.
urgent need to bring this up out of the backlog.
Yeah.
So I think we just leave it in the backlog for now.
Yeah, it's in the backlog, and it'll move forward either when somebody from Istio steps forward and says, "Hey, we really want to get this done," or when one of us has enough time
Okay,
to do a write up and turn it over.
fair enough. Okay,
We've got a bunch of other documentation things that are when somebody can get to them.
yeah.
One of the major things that I feel like we need to recruit for is writing release guidance from a governance perspective, right? Because I mean, there's sort of two aspects of projects having internal documentation on how we do a release,
Mhm,
right? One is the technical side of things in terms of, you know, hey, here's how we manipulate the CI/CD and that sort of thing. But there's also a governance side, which is who decides, right? You know, who takes a look at test grid and says, hey, you know, yes, we've got a few red flags, but it's not non-blocking and we're going to release anyway.
yeah.
And currently, I think the guidance for graduated, or no, actually, I think the guidance for incubating actually expects you to have a document on a release document, but there's not really much in the way of guidance on what needs to go in it.
So maybe it'd be worth reaching back out to Divya and see if she's still interested in working on this.
Yeah.
I think, sorry, we're yeah, so she offered to help,
Yeah.
and none of us got back to her, but I think she'd be a good person to kind of help.
Yes.
Okay,
it.
I think this is the correct ticket for this one, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Let me ping to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the products of this would be a release.md template, but the document, the advisory document is kind of the more critical portion, because a lot of the release MD template will be vague because projects can have very different procedures for doing a release depending on what their infrastructure looks like.
Yeah. We mostly want them to have a procedure for doing a release and have some key elements in it, but each one will be pretty different.
Right. But things like, you know, I mentioned one of the things, this is an area I've seen that projects have problems, right? In terms of who makes the final decision on whether the release goes out or not. Because I've seen plenty of projects not have that clearly be spelled out, and it result in kind of a political meltdown inside the project when there's disagreement.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wrote, based on your comment, would you be interested in working on this document with us? Or I actually missed some of it. Like, was she offering that she would do this document completely, or is this good?
I think
It's
that's
fine.
good.
It's fine.
Yeah, we can chat with her about it in more detail.
Okay.
If she's still interested.
Cool.
Okay, is there anything else on the project board that we need to talk about?
I have a question here. So I brought this several times. I brought this up several times. Rian, are you doing something around this work? Like not the contributor ladder, but like the titles and stuff like that in when you're like reconciling all these tag charter documents?
No, I'll have to look into this. Thanks, that's a very good point. I would actually have to look at, most of them follow the normal way of having a chair and a tech lead especially at the tag level. But in the working groups, there is like specifically for contributor growth, I'm the facilitator for contributor growth. So it might be a good thing to consider across different working groups and tags and see what's going on.
Mhm.
So
I understand.
do assign me to this, and then I'll remember to think about it.
Yeah, because it would be nice to be consistent on this across tags, the roles on the working groups. That would be a kind of a bigger discussion with the TOC. But
Yes,
I think it would be-
that's really a good point. Thank you.
yeah. I think it would be
Something
good.
else in a working group which I bumped into, which I didn't know. If you read the documentation, a working group is supposed to be a short-lived group with a very specific target in mind, and when the target is reached, the working group is disbanded. That's actually what the TOC working group documentation says.
Yeah, the TOC needs to revise that, because
Yeah.
functionally the way that working groups work within the CNCF is that working groups are equivalent to what Kubernetes would call sub-projects.
Yeah. So that's definitely what's one of the topics on my we need to revise this list, is working groups is not temporary. There is actually one tag, I can't remember which one, where I actually saw they called up their working groups and they gave it a specific run and say it's going to finish over here, and they've done it a few times already, which was pretty impressive.
Because working groups in the CNCF actually tackle issues that are ongoing, right? Because accessibility is never going to go away or be solved.
And
platform engineering is not going to go away or be solved. And you compare that with, for example, in Kubernetes has the LTS working group, and the LTS working group has a specific set of targets of recommendations that they need to create.
I think basically practice outlived documentation.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the documentation was basically based on copying Kubernetes. And it's time for it to get updated.
I think there are also these working groups that are not part of any tag.
Yes, there is the serverless working group, and there's, I think, one other one that I don't think is active at the moment. So serverless, we are busy working with them to turn them into a tag. So that's probably going to be in the next couple of months.
Okay, yeah, because the vote of the TOC, like honestly, a year and a half ago, was to eliminate having working groups that were not under a tag, because they had a real problem with another working group that wasn't under a tag that kind of went off the deep end because they didn't have anybody specifically to report to. Okay, I always thought the serverless working group was actually under tag app delivery.
No, they're
That's
at the
news
moment
to me.
they're still their own thing. So if they're on the listings here, you've got CI and serverless. I think CI is not active at the moment. Serverless is active, and we are talking to them. They came around and said they're looking for a logo for their working group. We said, okay, we can have a logo, but then you need to be a tag. So we're kind of negotiating that thing at the moment.
or runtime. They could also be under runtime, if they're not already somewhere, because it's, if you think about it, serverless kind of bridges the concepts of app delivery and runtime. And runtime might be a better location because most of the WebAssembly stuff has been under runtime.
Which raises the issue around AI. Everybody's wondering at the moment where AI goes, and at the moment it's going into two tags at once. So there's we're probably going to see a rearrangement in the next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, AI does not have a good location. Conceptually speaking, it's an example of sort of a hole in the general kind of coverage that we have. And I feel like the TOC should have a conversation about it. This leads to bigger issues because unlike a lot of other areas where we have CNCF projects, the problem is that anything in AI needs to be tightly dependent on other stuff that is not cloud native. But
here's a strategy. We could ask several large language models under which tag do you want to be, and then we see what the answer is.
Yeah, but I think AI should be its own tag, if anything, because it's not application delivery, it's not runtime. It's very much its own thing. That's true even if you look at, say, the people on it or what its external dependencies are. It really needs to be its own tag, and I think the next step is we should figure out who the leaders of that would be. But that's not Tag CS's job, that's the TOC's job.
In the last few minutes, other than the project board you asked, Dawn, if we go to open PRs, there's actually 3 open PRs in our repo. One I just commented on again to see if there's something going to happen there. And then there is one that's specific about the sandbox thing, which is probably redundant, taking into account because you're redoing all of it.
Okay, so this is on hold. This one. Okay.
Okay, so I'm looking at update readme.md, and why are we? Oh, this is the mentoring readme.
Oh yeah, this is somebody that want to add themselves as a interested person or what do you call it? And the person is actually not working for the CNCF. They did a mentorship with the CNCF, so they can't really put down their affiliation as CNCF. So
yeah, but I mean, this actually brings up a bigger issue, which is that the interested parties is a legacy of forming the working group. So when we form a working group, we assemble a list of people who would be interested in being active in that working group, because we want to make sure that the working group is going to be a thing, right? Because we don't want a working group that has one person. But that becomes obsolete once the working group is accepted and up and running. And really, we should actually just remove that section.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because like some of the people who are listed in that interested parties have never shown up. for a mentoring meeting ever. They were interested and then they ended up not having time.
Mhm.
So it's not relevant to have their names attached to the document.
Okay, I'm gonna take a note in one of these tickets, Rian. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, so put
Yeah, just here so that we actually remember. Or since you're touching the charter document, but are you gonna only touch the
Yeah.
charter for the tag, right? This is mentor working group. Would you like me to create a new ticket, or do you have any idea if you're gonna touch the mentoring working, not the mentoring, but the working group charter?
Why don't you put it in the other ticket we were just looking at, where you were talking about the different roles?
Mm.
So the facilitators, chairs, that,
And
because
interested
interested
parties.
parties is kind of a role that we probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, what I've done, Josh, you're actually very right about that. What I've done in other places where a document was created right in the beginning and it looked really good when say, okay, these people are interested in this and they wrote this whole charter document of this is what we're going to do. And 5 years later, the document still started with a list of names. And I created like an emeritus area where you can just move the people there and say all the great people that help us start this off and the list of the names,
Right.
and just delete it. Just one of them somewhere else.
Yeah, but even that needs to be revised because I'll tell you, for any of these working groups, probably only about half of the people who said they were interested initially actually helped with establishing the working group. And then
Yes.
plus some other people showed up at the first meeting who were not on the listed names of sort of listed people. So
Interested party.
the okay. Yep. Okay, I closed that PR though.
On a much lighter note, I asked ChatGPT, under what tag do you want to be? And it said either its own tag, which is AI tag, or it wants to be under observability. So ChatGPT have an opinion about it.
Is there anything we need to do, Josh, on that cloud events review PR? Or is that just still work in progress?
I need to finish my write-up based on the changes that they made to their governance.
Okay,
Because they made a lot of changes due to the initial draft of the review.
okay.
And including mostly updating a lot of the out-of-date information.
Good.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of the fundamental problems with the governance, some of the major issues with the governance remain,
Mhm.
particularly that they have this governance role called administrators that is critically important to the project, and they have no plans whatsoever to replace administrators when they leave, which is a problem because several administrators have in fact left. So that's going to get that needs to end. They also don't have any plans to maintain the and this is something we should look at for other governance reviews. There aren't any plans to keep the governance information up to date, right? Because a lot of this case was they have this subproject. The subproject wrote a README when it was established and then never updated it again.
Yeah.
And they're updating it forward because of this review, but nobody's assigned to maintain that information. So so I need to write up in those sorts of terms, and that particular thing of nobody's assigned to maintain this is something that I think is one of the things that should be on our internal checklist when we look at governance reviews, right? Because we get into this pattern of projects update their information when they have a maturity level change, but not otherwise.
Yeah.
And it becomes an ongoing problem because you end up with things like, hey, an entire subproject's been abandoned and nobody in the main project knew until that subproject has a critical security issue. and
Yeah.
they suddenly discover that nobody's around to fix it. So
Okay,
Okay.
so we have 1 minute left. Is there anything urgent we need to talk about, or are we in good shape?
do we have anything that we can throw over to CNCF social media this week?
The Google Summer of Code and LFX is upcoming, but we're not there yet. So
Okay.
is it happening every week? So we have time?
Yeah, every week. There's a question that we have every week is because the goal was to actually throw them something every week so that we keep up sort of a stream of
Yeah,
updates.
this is just to remind ourselves to tell them what we're working on so they can post it on the socials. But
Yeah.
there's not much going on this week, to be honest. Okay, cool. Well, I think we're at the top of the hour, so thank you everyone for coming, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.